There's never been a better time to have SiriusXM. With even more exclusive content, with over 150 channels in your vehicle, including the widest, deepest variety of music, ad-free. Root for your team. Get news. Listen to whatever makes you laugh. And hear all about your favorite stars. Your Platinum Plan offer includes more than ever before to enjoy online, on your phone, or at home. Create your own ad-free personalized stations powered by Pandora. Hear ad-free extra channels filled with music and enjoy favorite shows with SiriusXM Video. Thousands of hours of shows and performances on demand. What you love is on now.
Is your showroom overdue for a little TLC? Has the time come to think about getting some brand new displays? Well, if that's your situation, you've come to the right show, because we've got 5-Axis Innovations in the studio with us, and we're going to talk about different ways and the different opportunities that exist right now to modernize your shop and bring it right up to speed. This is 12-Volt Insider, 5-Axis Innovations, and it starts now. Hey, what's going on, everybody? And thanks for tuning in to this edition of 12-Volt Insider presented by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. And today we are revisiting our friends at 5-Axis Innovations. Jody Culbertson and his team have carved out a very unique space within the industry to provide dealers and manufacturers, for that matter, a solution for displays, interactive displays. In fact, we learned in our last session, and we went through various different builds and installs and renovations that the team at 5-Axis has done, and we got a chance to meet their team as well to really go through all the different services that they do provide. Tonight, we're going to go through 2 case studies so that you could kind of understand the different potential and different options that you have depending on the footprint and the scenario that you're in. And to do so, well, I guess I should invite the owner himself. Let's bring into the studio Mr. Jody Culbertson from 5-Axis Innovations. Mr. Jody.
Ben, how are we today, bud?
I'm pretty pumped because we're talking about stuff that really makes a difference from a dealer perspective. We're talking about their showroom, the space that they spend that time where they, nurture their customers and make the sales and connect with their customers. It is a very intimate space for most shops.
It is. And, I think a lot of retailers out there, and I'm very excited about today, because today we get to see 2 totally different retailers. They're in totally 2 different parts of the country. They're in 2 different worlds when it comes to what they offer consumers. So I'm excited to see that, because I think there's a lot of guys out there who can associate and relate to either one of these gentlemen. Okay, they've been in the business a while. They understand the business. They're very knowledgeable of what they do. But they both saw the potential of updating their store in various ways, which is very, very cool. But one of the strengths and the key things that I see with a lot of owners, if it's 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years, is the fact when they do redo their store, this is kind of their breath of fresh air to them, of something maybe they've been working towards for many years, right? And they see themselves in a certain space. They see their store in a certain space. And we get the opportunity to help them achieve a dream that maybe they've taken 5, 10, 15, 20 years to gain and get to, right?
I mean, I think that is one part. I'm going to agree with you, but I think there's another part that's really relevant, and I'm hoping it's going to be part of our discussion tonight. And that is, let's face it, Jody, the average car audio shop 20 years ago is not selling the same type of product in 2022. There's much more options, lighting, different categories, in the OEM integration. There's just a lot more to sell, and therefore a lot more touch points and opportunities to display it in their showrooms.
That is a very, very good point. Back in the day, 20 years ago, and both our guys who are coming on board tonight can speak for that. They've both been in the industry a long time. But you are totally right. There are a lot of people who have been in the 80s, the 90s. And let's face it, back then it was car audio, it was amplifiers, it was subwoofers. That's what it was. Well, in today's world, you have window tint, you have vehicle wrap, you have paint protection, you have car audio, you have mobile video, you have drive assist, you have navigation, you have CarPlay, you have Android Auto, you have remote start, security. You have an endless list of possibilities of stuff, performance lighting. There's a million things in there that guys can deal with. And retailers are challenged on many, many aspects of A, keeping up with the technology, A, updating their store in a way that they want, and B, the fact of lines change. So you may be a X dealer today in remote start, tomorrow you're something else. You might be doing this dash cam, now you're doing this dash cam. So we want to make sure that when we're talking to our retailers, we provide them a solution so that if something does change down the road, they can easily call us and we can help them change their categories over or change their displays to keep them relevant in today's world. Because we don't know from today or last week what is going to be the next hot thing. And you've got to be able to turn on a dime today with the internet being so aggressive, our customers shopping it so much. You got to be able to show the latest, greatest technology, and you have to have the ability to wow them. And, you know, that's one thing we're constantly trying to do is create an environment when a customer walks in and they open that door, they realize that the retailer they're walking into is the professional in their market. It's the place they want to buy their product from. It's the cool factor. It's the factor when that customer leaves, he tells tens of his friends that, hey, I was just at the store. Man, you would not believe what it looked like. That's what we really want to bring to the table, because in the retail world that we're in, we want the store to sell them as well as they're selling themselves, if not in some case better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I really want the store to really exemplify who that retailer is to the consumer, so they don't have to spend tons of time closing themselves on something. The store will do it for them.
I think we've touched on so many key points. I know we're going to circle back with and compare notes with the actual business owners who will be on our show today. And I think this all kind of segues to the point of, you know, we're coming out of a very strange time, right? These last 2 years, we have the most technology and offerings that this industry has ever had. We're probably at the peak as far as offering is concerned. This may be the best time to pull a trigger on investing in some displays.
You know, I guess the thing is, and I have to look at myself, I am constantly reinvesting in myself, writing, reading, understanding what's happening in the industry of retail, how things are changing, learning new programs, learning new materials. And it's no different than our retailers. We have to constantly evolve, as you say, to change. But I do believe, you know, now is a great time. I think any time is a great time at the end of the day, but now is a good time. We came off of 2 years that have been pretty crazy for some retailers, you know, and still is very crazy. So now is a good time to kind of pull the trigger. More and more people are coming back to the brick and mortar stores. So we want to give them a fresh look. And I think you're totally right. Things are changing very quickly. And we need to keep our retailers in tuned and have the ability to change with the customer, because when that customer comes in, says, hey, have you heard this or have you seen this? Our retailer goes, yes, it's right here. We have it on display.
My final point before we get to our guests that I thought would be very important to communicate right here. You know, the other battle that's underlying through all this is the retail battle. And the retail battle has very different battlefields now. You know, we're talking about you're up against e-commerce, online stuff, no unbranded, no name stuff. To succeed as a premier top tier retail outlet in your neighborhood, in your area, you've got to step it up. You be able to provide that experience to the customer that when they walk, they could touch, they could feel. A lot of it is on their own, which is the great thing about your displays, that interactivity that they can actually play and press buttons and hear the difference. I'll use the sound damping demo for as an example, because I know I'm familiar with it. You know, press 1, press 2, press 3. These are like, well, you have a term for it, automatic salespeople. I don't remember the term that you have, but now more than ever, I feel that is ultra important to separate that shopping experience from that online press a button at the cart experience.
And you're right. Interaction is everything. Interaction is all what we do. The more interactive we can become, the better. And both these guys that are coming on have a different way of doing the business and how they do it. But one of the key things that we are always constantly striving for is how to figure out ways to become more interactive with every display. If it's graphical, if it's sound, if it's audio, if it's lighting, if it's remote start, you have a remote in your hand, you're feeling it, you're touching it. We all know that if a customer comes in and they open that door and they get an emotional experience, they become much more open to buying from that retailer. And let's face it, Apple has started that 10, 15 years ago. They created a whole new environment that we are all following and understanding that this is what consumers want. They want less clutter. They want more definitive decision-making ability when they walk in. But ultimately, they need to know what you sell. You know, I think that's the critical element in our today's world. If you sell lighting, you got to show that you sell lighting. If you sell collision avoidance, you sell dash cam, you sell window tint, paint protection, vehicle wrap, whatever it is, when you walk in, the customer needs to see that. And when they walk in, I try to treat every store like a grocery store. When they walk in, it's very clear if they're looking for radar, remote start, they know where to go in your store to find what they're looking for. And that makes them feel a lot more comfortable in their decision-making and in their shopping experience, because they feel comfortable and they feel in control when they walk in your store. If you've got to walk them around showing them all these different things you do, they're going to lose control. But if they see what they want, they feel a lot more comfortable shopping with you.
All right, Jody, let's get into it. We've got two guests backstage. Why don't you set it up for us? Who are these two guests, and why did you invite these two in specific for tonight's case study kind of session?
The first customer, Mike, you know, he approached me about 3-4 months ago, maybe, and we started talking about his store. He had a smaller footprint, and he was looking for some audio stores. He was looking for a sound damping display, and he had heard about us, which was cool. But Mike had a very specific request. He wanted to have the best sounding display he could possibly do. So we customized the display for him for strictly sound quality. We tuned the ports. We made it as best sound quality display as we possibly could for him. And our other customer, Don got in touch with me probably 6, 8, 9 months ago. We started talking about his store. Now, Don had a larger footprint. Don is big into window tint, paint protection. He's into other things, but he also wanted an audio board that sounded amazing as well. And we presented that. We gave him that solution too. But both these retailers are in various different aspects of what they do, but they can relate to a lot of guys. Okay. There's a lot of retailers out there who are in each of these guys' situation, who can see themselves doing something in their store of a certain magnitude of what they're doing.
All right, so our special guest is backstage. We're going to go all the way to Republic, Missouri, where there is a shop by the name of Efficient Integrations and their owner, Mike Walker.
Hey, Ben, how are you, sir?
Hey, Mike, thanks for joining us this evening. So, Efficient Integrations, why don't you tell us a little bit about your shop, what you specialize in, and how long you've been open?
Let's see, we opened end of 2017, beginning of 2018. Started out as doing mobile installations. I think a lot of people in the industry start out the same way. Mobile installations did not work. It's not a great idea. And then kind of progressed from there. Our first shop was a 2-bay garage with no showroom, no sales floor, no office, nothing. Just a 2-bay garage that customers walked in and you were there watching us work on the cars. That worked for a little while, got us out of the cold and out of the rain. And then in March of 2020, we moved into this location here, which it's a little bit small. I'd like it to be about twice the size, but real estate is very hard to come by where we are. So for what we were looking for, it actually is just perfect.
All right. So I think that story that you just told us, Mike, a lot of guys in our industry can share. You know, I myself started off in a bay with no showroom, and people literally walk in while my head's under a dash. And I think a lot of people know what that's all about. But good to see you're all set up in a location. Tell us a little bit about the story. You know, you moved into your location and then you thought, you had a vision. You wanted to do something with the space that you had and optimize, although not as big as you wanted to optimize the space. Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about, you know, the strategy going in.
Exactly. I think all of us, especially, you know, if you move into a new store and you start at a new store, you're starting with a budget. And so our first audio display was a old Radio Shack display. It was wall mounted from the 90s. It was made out of expanded PVC. I kind of redid it, refinished it, put new panels on it and things like that. It held the speakers. It didn't sound very good. And then I acquired a old Diamond audio display and I refinished that and I made it look really, really pretty. And it actually did sound pretty good because like Jody had mentioned earlier, Each section of it was actually an individual ported enclosure for the speaker. But other than that, the display was enormous and on wheels and very hard to maneuver and fit in the shop or anything like that. And one of the things that, you know, really bothered me there was I had one great sounding display or good sounding display and one that was kind of a terrible sounding display. So any speakers that are in that terrible sounding display are not getting a fair chance when a consumer listens back and forth. And they didn't match, took up a lot of space, just a lot of things like that. And we pride ourselves on the work that we do. I feel like we do very, very high-end work. We work on several higher-end vehicles. We install higher-end equipment. And then walking into our showroom, it was kind of like a low-end showroom. Mm-hmm. It didn't represent who we are or what we do at all. It didn't have that clean look. And that was something that was important. And then just like Jody was saying earlier, sound quality is a big thing for us. So having the enclosures and displays and everything built in a way to where they sound better than, you know.
Well, I have two comments there. You know, Jody, you're talking about the sound quality and those separate enclosures. You know, I have to wonder, although he might have had a display that did have those individual enclosures, what about the switching? You know, did it do was it laid out and optimized for what he wanted to do? And did, you know, what did you have to do to kind of, I guess, not only optimize the sound quality that he wants, but now you're also talking about a size constraint. And we'll see in a minute when we do a little walk around of a showroom. We're not talking about a giant showroom here.
The display that we did for him, we did fairly straight. We lost him, I guess, here, didn't we?
Yeah, we'll get him back in a second.
Okay. Sure. So the switching that we did for him is he requested a certain amount of switching. So we put that switching in, we wired it all up for him. We had everything done. Obviously, loading the product, it's a lot of work. Loading product is a lot of work, any way you cut it. But we made sure that we sufficed what he did. So on one of his displays, he's able to show head unit power to amplifier power, which is pretty critical when you're listening to speakers. You know, most guys have it hooked up to an amp, so a customer comes in and thinks, wow, this sounds really good. Well, really, no, it doesn't sound that good because it's truly not the way it's going to sound in your car.
Right.
And we really want to hone in on the fact that, Mr. Customer, this is your head unit sound. This is what a 4x4 amplifier. Listen to the difference. And we know it's drastic. It's a massive difference. Well, now when the customer hears that, they buy into what you're telling them because they can hear it. Like it becomes active to them. So now they believe and they understand what you're saying. So once you get them to understand that, then you add in a subwoofer. Well, we all know what a subwoofer does to a car. It adds that low-end music. And everybody wants it. You know, some customers think, oh, my God, I don't want a sub because I don't want to be the loud kid who's driving down the road. That's not what you're going to be. You know, it's going to fulfill and really solidify your music in a way that you want it to be. You know, every factory system, you're missing subwoofers all the time. And 9 times out of 10, you're missing the high frequency.
9 times out of 10, it's why we all fell in love with car audio. It's that.
Well, and that's true.
Let's be honest.
Right. 100%.
Yep. So let's take a look. Do you mind if we take a look around your shop and maybe show us what you're talking about, what the final product was, and what were the challenges that you were identifying earlier on, Mike?
Absolutely. I'm going to switch you guys to the other side of my phone here.
Now, you guys specialize in higher end car audio, and do you do anything like lighting or remote start or anything like that?
Yeah, we do remote start. We do lighting. We don't tint windows. That's probably the biggest thing that we don't do. But for the most part, you know, all of the electronics, like I think the name says it best, in integrations. We like to integrate with the vehicles.
Are you going to start us out on the outside, or we're
I am. I was going to show you guys because I think the store is going to be similar to what a lot of people in the industry might have. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty standard flex property.
Mm-hmm. Are you like in an industrial park kind of area situation?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So there's 4 businesses here. Can you guys still hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay. we've got a single bay there, but it kind of goes back in an L shape, so we can get a couple of vehicles in there.
And I like how you have Morel right on the outside saying that we sell high-end speakers.
Yeah. We've got a couple of brands that we need to add to that, but automotive electronics, and we keep our remote starts on there, and we really like people to be able to see that from the road. We get quite a bit of traffic out there. So
very good.
So, and then this is what we were kind of talking about. We walk in, and I think different than a lot of car audio shops, we have more of a boutique office feel. I'd like it to be real personalized with the client, and I'll have them sit down. We'll have a water or a soda or whatever, and we'll talk about a system design and go through all of that. And often that portion will actually happen before we come over here and push any buttons.
It's kind of like, I feel like a high-end tattoo parlor kind of setup.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. So maybe a little better lighting.
Oh yeah, definitely better lighting for sure.
And then of course, this is our remote start display, and this is one thing that we haven't touched on yet. But Jody's working with us in phases. So at some point we will lose this display. This is the mega display that every store has. And we'll have something that kind of matches this design and showcases our remote start and security systems as well. And it'll be wall mounted as well. So, but here's the systems.
That's all sound based on screen, head unit power, and amplification, right? Both.
Right. So we can come over here. We've got our head unit that's playing audio. This is actually, Jody gave us some blanks until we have head units to fill all of them. But Jody sent these. They actually look really nice. They give the customer kind of an example of a backup camera, Android Auto. But yeah, we can use one of the buttons to switch between amplifier power and head unit power.
And how audible is that difference, Mike?
It's pretty crazy how much of a difference it makes. Let me see if I can get you guys some tunes playing.
So, I mean, enough that the customer certainly feels and hears the difference.
Oh, yes. So I don't know if that really translates well over the phone, over the video or not.
I just like the fact that you got a wall of Morels. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. So, and we're able to showcase everything from their Maximo Ultra line up to their hybrid, and then anything beyond.
No carbon elates on the wall?
No carbon and no elates on the wall. So they're not, with limited space, we got to stick to what we sell.
Fair enough. Yes, something to think about, but it shows that even with limited space. Oh, wait, can we see that on the bottom? So that is a lit pedestal for subwoofers, I would suppose.
Yep, and there's one for each. And we've got our wiring routed through the wall. There is a pass-through on the bottom of these displays. So if somebody did not want to or didn't have the ability to route wiring through the wall, if they were going on brick or something like that, you could drop the subwoofer cabling right out the bottom.
Okay.
And then each display has a switcher on it, a little hidden switch that I can flip without the customer even seeing to turn the subwoofers either on or subwoofer 1 or subwoofer 2.
Gotcha.
And both subwoofers run off of the same monoblock amplifier.
And how much of this display did you make decisions on as far as colors or materials or lighting or anything of that nature?
So Jody allowed us to pick how many radios we wanted on the display, what the panels were going to look like. So these panels do a pretty good job of matching our existing floors that we put in. The lighting is a little different, but they do a pretty good job of matching that. So it kind of blends, but there was the option of brushed aluminum and different things like that. And they have a real, I'll get close. They have a real nice finish on them.
It's like a grain.
They're textured like wood grain. Really excellent finish. And one of the things that I was surprised by is there's no screws
Right.
on this display, which is pretty cool. These are all magnetic, so very easy to just. I probably have one in my pocket because we all usually do. I think. Oh, nope, I don't. I just use a little pry tool, pop it right back here, and pop that right out.
Well,
So
isn't that quite fabby of you there, Jody, to use
Yeah.
magnets on all the panels?
It's all
Yeah.
about trying to keep the cleanest look possible as we when we built those, right? We wanted a clean look.
What if the customer wanted to change out that 6.5 component for a 5 1/4 component set? Is that
We
do you
usually-
provide like extra panels, or how's that work?
Yeah, we
We would
usually
do it-
ship extra panels for them.
So we have a bunch of the blank panels that Jody sent. We've got, I think he sent us probably eight or 10 of the blank panels. And if we needed more, we could always call them and add more. And like we were talking about with the size constraints, they do not come very far off of the wall. I mean, tucked in pretty well.
Now, in this particular situation, Mike, did you install the soundboards, or did the 5-axis team do it for you?
I did the installation. So they ship them. It came in on a very, very nicely wrapped pallet. It was delivered right to our garage door out there, put it in the shop. And then actually installing, I'm going to turn the music off real quick. Installing the boards, Jody mentioned this a second ago, but installing the boards onto the wall was a pretty simple process. We propped them up. Jody sent us the wall anchors, the bolts to mount them with, everything. We prop them up. We screwed them in we had 3 people for these bigger ones. And then the big part for us.
Oh, I think we might have just lost him temporarily here. Jody, take over here. I mean, who wouldn't want these? They
One of
look
the things,
so slick.
one of the things whenever guys, you've got 2 different guys who one had us come out with, the other one did it himself. We try to include everything. We try to make it as easy as possible on a job such as that. That's not a lot of displays to worry about. So we give them the jigs to set them off the floor. We give them all the hardware. We talked them through it, and he had them up. I think he had all of them up within 3 or 4 hours. They were all bolted to the wall. Like, they went up quite nice. We try to cut all the holes for the speakers. We try to do as much as we can in-house. Obviously, putting the product in, loading it up, and finishing up that part of it is another part of the job. But with that, we worked with him through each display. He had a Morel display, he had an Audio Frog display, and then he had the JBL Infinity display. So we covered 3 lines, as well as the sound damping in the back corner. Okay, so we were able to cover some very good areas. But again, he pointed out something that I forgot to mention. We are on a stage with him. He came to me and said, listen, Jody, I have X amount of kind of money to work with on a budget. So I came up with a budget saying, let's do stage 1 this way. Perfect. And maybe it's 5 to 6 to a year later, he might call me and say, okay, I'm ready for the remote start, and I'm ready to do this display and a new counter. Okay, great. Perfect. We all, every time, Don can vouch for this too. And Don went through one heck of an ordeal trying to get his store going and getting the reno done in his. But we all have budgets. We all do. And 9 times out of 10, they never allow us to get inside our budget. We're always over budget. I have never heard of anybody doing a home rental, a house rental. It doesn't matter, a business rental. They're always.
I don't even get on budget on groceries. What are we talking about? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So with that said, we came in on a budget. We came in on a strategic plan of how we could do his store. And I think a lot of guys out there can relate to his store. They need some new audio. They need a new fresh. And let's face it, when you open the doors to that store, he's got freshly painted walls. He's got nice floors.
It looks spiffy. Like,
it looks really
You know what that looks like? You know what that looks like? It looks like if I was a customer, I'm like, damn, I'm about to spend some money. That's what that
and that's
looks
the
like.
thing. He caters to that customer who might walk in, who's a little higher end, and they open the door, they get excited. And that's what matters.
All right. We're going to go back to Mike real quick here just to close off. I think there's one more thing I want to ask him. Let's see if we can get Mike back here. Hey, Mike, can you show me that corner spot real quick? I know, just to show how you maximize the wall space ahead. Like, there you go, right in between the door and the corner. I mean, that can't be more than 2.5 feet wide.
Yeah, it's not a very wide space. I mean, maybe 3.5, 4 feet wide.
And what did you put it there?
This is our sound damping display, which I want to, just touch on this because we try to sell sound damping and pretty much sell sound damping on every single vehicle that we do. And, you know, there's a huge benefit from it. It really, really is a great thing to do for the clients, but sometimes I think that they may not quite understand, no matter how I explain it, what a difference it makes. And this display does that. I mean, it really does that for us. You know, Jody was saying that that's our best salesman right there.
Mm-hmm. So that's a money-making display right there.
It is. So I believe that, you know, over time, that's going to pay for the rest of this. That one display. And, you know, to the other stores out there, if they're smaller like me, or even if they're a bigger place, I don't see not having one of these in your shop as an option.
Very cool. Mike, if you could fandango with your phone and get back so we could just sign off with you. I got one or two more questions for you. But man, beautiful shop. So congratulations to you. And I think the team is you and your wife, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right. So after all this time, the process of, you know, meeting with the team at 5-Axis, talking to them, the consult, give us an overall experience rating here, so other dealers can understand what to expect.
I mean, it's 10 out of 10. I certainly had a lot of requests. They may not have been stuff that they had done before. I wanted to be able to switch between a 2-way and a 3-way component system, and so that meant that I needed the crossovers to be external, and I wanted specific images. Well, not even specific images, but I had an idea of specific images for all those banners that are above the display. And Jody and 5-Axis, they went back and forth with me on emails and said, what do you think of these graphics? What do you think of these? And they put the graphics together until they found something that I said, yep, that's the one. That's the correct graphic for a Morel display, or that's the correct graphic for the
So
JBL.
would you say it helps the fact that, I don't know, Jody's got 25 years of experience in the car audio world and not just any display manufacturer? Does that make a difference for you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and he's familiar with many different brands, not just one brand. So, you know, he understands that if we're going to do an audio frog display, it better be green.
Yeah.
I think that was super helpful. We texted, we emailed, we had phone calls and little video FaceTime chats so that he could look at the whole store. And then when I told him, you know, we'll have to do this section first, and then come back to at some point. You saw our little sofa over there.
Mm-hmm.
That's wasting a lot of wall space right now. And at some point, we want to take that sofa out. That'll give us some more wall space for more displays.
So you have every intention to maximize displays because you believe that they make a difference.
Absolutely. Right. And we're going to do a little customer counter over there with a coffee maker, and Jody's going to make that match everything else and do LED lighting and everything. So real excited to keep moving forward with it.
Awesome. Well, I would love every opportunity to kind of circle back with you whenever you get into that phase and see where it goes from there. But for now, I want to thank you for coming in and sharing with us your beautiful store and the whole process. And I mean, great job. It looked fantastic. Like I said, I feel like the moment I walk in, I know I'm about to spend money because that's what it feels like there.
That's good, because I hope that you're about to spend money when you come.
And that's a good thing. So thank you for coming in, Mike. It was great exploring your store, learning about your store, and meeting you, man. So congratulations and good luck.
Real good to meet you, Jody. Thank you very much, and I'll see you later.
All right.
Absolutely.
Take care, Mike.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
So, Jody, I think Mike really represents, like you said, a huge group of, you know, smaller shops, operator, owner, installer shops. You know what I mean? I know I have a few friends that own shops just like that. And I thought it was really cool that you didn't bring on just your big, giant renovation projects, which we know you've done. But it's nice to see that even on a more modest scale, what it's such a difference that it makes.
Absolutely. And, you know, I wanted, that's why I chose the two people. And believe me, Don definitely challenged us. The next guy we're going to talk to something much grander. We haven't done many stores such as Don's, but you're right. With Mike's store, a lot of guys can understand what we've done. A lot of guys can associate and relate to that. And I want guys to realize you don't need to spend $20, $30, $40, $50, $100,000 on a smaller room. You can do it on a fairly good budget and get what you need and do it in stages. And that's exactly what Mike's doing.
Beautiful. Love it. Okay, we're going to circle back on a couple of the things you just mentioned there. But for now, we're going to go to another part of the country with another different type of shop. Beautiful shop. We're going to learn all about it. He's located in Lincoln Park, Michigan. The shop is called Tentpro, and the owner is Don Voles. And I'd like to invite him to the show. Hey, Don, how are you, man?
Good, Ben. How are you?
Very, very good. Thanks for being patient with us. Now, you're located all the way up in Michigan, and from what Jody tells me, it's a little bit bigger footprint than what we just experienced with Mike.
A little bit, but I came from about the same size footprint that Mike was in. My showroom was about 800 square feet. I had about 1,000 to 1,200 square foot bay, so I got 2, maybe 3 cars into it. Luckily, in that particular building, had me room for growth. There was another bay that had another 1,000 square feet in the back end of it, which I later got to take advantage of. But after a few more years of that, I outgrew that as well.
So, are you now at a recent location, kind of what you envisioned where you will be for the next few years?
Yes, this is kind of where I see Tentpro being at. Now I went from 3,800 square feet to 8,600 square foot building.
Okay.
Yeah. So just my shop area alone is bigger than my whole building was at the last place. So it's quite impressive.
So help us understand your business a little bit. I mean, sometimes the name doesn't say it all. So Tentpro, obviously, I would assume that you do some tinting. What else do you cover as far as services?
So we DBA as Tentpro window tinting and car audio. We opened up doing car audio, remote starts, alarms. When I first opened up, we only carried Hertz. That was my first brand. I carried Clifford, and to this day, we still carry Clifford for remote starts and alarms. I've gone through a couple of tint brands since then, but primarily we're a tint shop. So that's why Tentpro is the name. We do 3/4 of our business is tint. The other 25% is audio. But when I moved into this new location, I wanted to expand on the audio. I figured 25% is not good enough. I want more. I want it to be more. So that's what we're working on. We just very recently moved. I just had the grand opening 2 weeks ago.
So this is really recent. This is 2 weeks ago. Okay, so
literally we moved a month ago.
So let me understand this right. Obviously, you've cut your teeth in the tint side of things, right? You started dabbling into car audio, and now you said, you know what? If we're going to make a move, we need to expand on the car audio side. So talk through us a little bit about your process in your mind going into this big open space, and how did you tackle getting to, having it set up the way you wanted?
Well, I tell you, it wasn't easy. With a showroom, I walked in this building, and it had literally 3,000 square foot showroom. It's just massive.
3,000 square feet of showroom space.
Right. Now, I had thought about actually reducing that and making the shop space bigger, but the building, when it was built, was kind of built a little weird, and they built 1,000 square foot room between the 3,000 square foot room and the 4,000 square foot room. So it was a little weird, and it was going to be quite extensive to relocate walls at that point. So we decided I decided to leave the showroom at 3,000 square feet and went for it.
Because I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off here, Doug.
Yeah.
I mean, you sell tint. How much space do you need to show off tint is the question.
Well, yes. What you'll see in our video, we don't need much room to sell tint. The display for the tint by itself is actually pretty small. But when I opened up here 8 years ago, I knew that I had to do more than just tinting to survive here in Michigan. We have winters and we get snow, and the tint business dies down quite a bit, quite significantly, as a matter of fact. So we needed something else for that. So I knew, even when I started off, that I was going to be doing some kind of electronics and audio. Fortunately, I'd been trained for all that before I opened. So when I opened as a one-man shop, I did all that myself.
So you're an installer technician as well yourself?
Yes, okay. I'm the actual tinter. I've been tinting for 23 years. I've been installing car audio and electronics for 15, 16 years. So I opened up as a one-man shop. I did it all. I answered the phones. I tinted a car, and
But
10 minutes
you
later,
thought
you
you yourself sitting in a 3,000 square foot space with the phone? I mean, I just feel like there's a missing. Help me connect these dots.
Well, I knew that. I know myself, and I knew it wasn't going to be a one-man operation for very long. It only lasted for about a year and a half before I hired my first employee. I just knew it was going to be me. I had a nice little showroom area. It wasn't very big. I built my own audio display. I made a couple cutouts for 2 single DINs, 2 double DINs. And I think I had 5 or 6 sets of speakers and a couple subwoofers. That's all Hertz carried. That's all they made at the time. So that's what I had. Just a little box on the wall, up against the wall, painted and felted. I think I used some box carpet to make it look decent. And the remote starts I had on a counter display, almost not even quite as nice as what Mike had there. I didn't come across one of those for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. And I just knew that I was going to be alone for a little while, but I knew it wouldn't last too long. And luckily I got a good deal on the building, so it wasn't super costly to be there by myself.
So help us understand now. You made the commitment. You're in this space. You're like, oh, how am I going to fill this? How did Jody get into the picture?
Well, I found Jody on Facebook, actually. I've seen, or Instagram. I can't remember one or the other. One of the socials. I couldn't remember exactly which one, but so let me backtrack a little bit, actually. So when I was in the old building, I had, once I got a little bit busier, I had contemplating upgrading my showroom like Mike did, something small, nice. So I had talked to, years ago, AvidWorks, mm-hmm. Which I think Jody came from, or they took a lot of ideas from Jody, because a lot of the displays are very similar. But I didn't end up going that way. I ended up finding a used display locally with a good switching system on it. But so I knew at one point I was going to get into some kind of nice displays. I knew I wanted to. It wasn't quite affordable at the time, so I figured once I got to the point where I'm at now, I mean, I did almost $1 million in sales last year before we decided to move. So I figured that it's time to make the move and make it look nice, make everything look the same. I want, everything to be conformed. And man, I can't even tell you how much I'm impressed with what Jody did and his team did in my store. It's really amazing.
So I think with that, we have a video that Don has taken the time to walk us through his new store that you will obviously see he's very proud of. And I think you'll understand why once we play a tape. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about those key features and a couple of the challenges that were involved in the process. So let's play the tape.
Hello, my name's Don Bowles. I'm the owner of Tentpro, Ribbon Tinting, and Car Audio. And I just want to show off my store, because Jody and his team over at 5 Axis Innovations did an amazing job setting up my store and making it look entirely more professional than I could ever thought it was. So let's get started and let's see what we got. So we're going to start off. First you saw as I walked up, Jody didn't do this part, but we epoxied the floor, put the logo in for brand recognition. It's quite amazing by itself. And we'll start off, we're just going to work our way around the store. So we set up a customer waiting area. And instead of setting up some chairs and a couch and a TV, you see there's no TV anywhere. We did, however, set up Wi-Fi, charging stations, and a sitting bar. So people can just hang out, chill, relax, charge their phones, get on the computer, work, hang out, look outside. Better than staring at the TV or in the middle of a showroom someplace. We set up a nice drink station for them, nice Keurig. Jody made this. This is a one of a kind. He made this for us, specifically just because of the way it's shaped and designed. I told him what I was trying to get out of it, and he gave me exactly what I was looking for. It looks amazing. All right, now we're going to kind of just skim over my wrap section. Unfortunately, it's not quite as far along as I was hoping it would be by now, but we're having problems getting parts for the display, so it's kind of empty and vacant. There's not a whole lot we can really do about that right now. We're just waiting on the stuff to come in so we can wrap them. We also did, new to Jody was the fashion film, the paint protection film that also, lets you color change your vehicle at the same time. He wanted something specific that stood out different than the wrap display or even the PPF display, the regular PPF display that we have that just shows clear and wraps. And so we did the chasing LEDs and the color changing lights. Unfortunately, the cars have turned out to be a little bit more trouble to wrap than we thought they were going to be, so they're taking a little bit longer process to get done. Next, we have our paint protection film display. Obviously, we have not finished that yet either. It's been a work in progress. But we're set up to have paint panels here that will have PPF on one side and just plain paint on one side, on the other side, so you can really see and feel the difference between the two. And we can actually color wrap a couple of these display cars and put the clear paint protection on them so you can see what they would actually look like once you wrap the vehicle in. What he did very, very specifically for us, because most of the places that he goes to and does the work for or makes these displays for are car audio stations, car audio stores. We happen to be a window tinting store that happens to do some of the other stuff, the car audio and electronics. So when he came to me, he says, "This is my standard tint display," and it had a couple heat lamps and it was about a half the size. I said, "Listen, that's not enough to display what we do." So I had him come up with, I told him what I had in my head, and I needed different heat lamps to display different rejections of heat across the way. I needed a display that shows off all my different shades. I also want to be able to put a tablet up, since we use a program called Visual Tinter that lets you put your vehicle on a tablet and actually pick out your different shades so you can actually see what you want. And of course, around the board it has information about tinting, but this is something that he made for us because nobody else, he hasn't made anything for a tint shop yet. So this is one of our favorites. This is probably the biggest one of the bunch. All right, but beyond there, we did an vehicle accessory display with some lighting. Of course, everything works, of course. It's super bright, so we won't put it at the camera. Everything's really cool and nice, and show off the different types of things that you can put on your vehicle that we do, different accessories, vent shades, fender flares, chrome accessories, step bars, tonneaus, things like that. Also, on the other side, we want to display our WeatherTech side, because we do a lot of WeatherTech stuff. As a WeatherTech dealer, we like to really portray and show off our WeatherTech stuff, because they do a lot of really good protection for people. Now, even on the end of that, just like we did a tablet, or on the other wall for the tint display, we also have an interactive garage program where you can put in the vehicle that you have. Customize it with different accessories. Just a nice little feature to have. Let people come over here and play around with the tablet and price out different accessories. You can put let's see, comes up with prices just for a little bug shield. You can delete it, take it off, removes it, little things like that. Little things like that. We try to make our showroom interactive with the customer, so they have something to do while they're standing here waiting for their vehicle to get tinted or for their stereo to get put in. who knows, maybe they'll buy something else. Of course, now beyond those little displays, if I can get my cameraman to show the wall art that we did, it shows off all the different types of vehicles and things that we do along the way. Just did a beautiful job of the posters on the wall. Everything is just gorgeous. All right, now back to me now. Of course, now we have our remote start and alarm display. Simple, basic, has all your information, everything you need to know, all the options for what we carry. We carry Clifford DEI products. And of course, we did digital displays for our pricing. That's not something Jody did, but it's something I found online and decided to go with. We really like it a lot. Now, one of my favorite things that Jody did is this amazing customer service desk. 20 feet long, lit up LEDs, branded. It's absolutely gorgeous and probably weighs like 1,000 pounds. You are not moving it at all. But it's easy, nice, beautiful. The wood texture that he did, the grain, is nice and throughout on every piece. Same everywhere. It's very, very nice. All right, go on. We also did a sound editing display. Of course, we all know it's really loud, huh? We won't do that. Of course, we all know what sound editing displays do. Of course, we keep cameras up for security cameras. We let our customers like to watch what's going on in the garage. What a nice OEM integration display. Now, what you didn't see in the other display is what we're getting to with the audio, is that Jody CNC, we have digital price tags that I can change on the computer on the fly. I can change the information on the tags. We flush mounted these right into the boards next to every piece, so that you can I can literally change the speakers and get on the computer, put the different information in, and it'll change on the fly. It's really, really nice. It'll look super professional. Your stores like Best Buy, Office Max, and your big giant chain stores are doing the digital price tags. So I thought when I'm doing all this, why would I stop? So I did that, and it turned out really, really nice. We really liked it a lot. But here we have the OEM integration display, factory speakers, of course upgraded speakers, amplifier, factory radios. So let people know they can get their factory radios, of course. We'll move on to our bike display, motorcycle display. Here we got simulating fairing sound off to the side, front pods, amp small enough to hide underneath the fairings, full waterproof radios by Aquatic Aquatic AV. Well, sorry about that. It's right in front of my face on the display tag. Look at that. Anyway, what happens? We did a great job on our power sports display, the marine power display. Now, we modified a little bit because I wanted to display another set of towers, because I had apparently one set of tower speakers I had was really, really big, and we weren't going to fit all four. So we decided to side mount with grab bars, like bathroom grab bars, and it turned out amazing. Because normally the displays come prepared for prepped for one set of towers. I decided I wanted two, so I wanted to display both my brands and the different sizes. And he accommodated, like he has with everything else. Quite amazing. With the subwoofer, we got the marine subwoofer display platforms on the bottom. And if I gotta turn around, we'll show you our car stereo display that he built for us. And of course, all these are powered up and working. Of course, they're price tagged, looking beautiful. People can still come over and play with the different features and functions. They just can't hear these particular radios, which is probably good for most of us. On the other side, we're, again, like everything else, a couple supply issues. So we have a couple holes. We need to fill out that spot. But we are displaying the Tesla radios and stuff in the floating screens, as you saw on the other side. Because those are, that's where car art is moving to, isn't it? Yeah, a little bit. Or quite a bit. And of course, our audio displays. This is the smaller of the two that we have. So because it's a smaller audio board, it has room for more subwoofers around it, which is why you see so many subs around it, so many subwoofer cabinets around it. But this displays all of the speakers. We have this particular display runs either a high-powered 4-channel and a low-powered 4-channel, and a high-powered sub-amp and a low-powered sub-amp. This particular board does not run off just radio power; it's all amplified. We do also have our powered subs connected, so you can actually test them out, just like you can with any other subs. Everything switches, lights up, nice and easy, super easy to use. More subs. And of course, our bigger display, which takes up much more space. Quite a bit. Now this particular display does have deck power. And we've got one basically blank amp on 4-channel. We run it off the 4-channel, which we can change, turn on or turn off. We have a high-powered sub and a low-powered sub amp. And of course, all of our bigger, more powerful amps are over here with our 1500 watt amp. Our subs are over here with our amp. There we go, I got it. Then something I wasn't sure about, but turns out I really, really like the subwoofer, the freestanding subwoofer display. I thought it was going to be a little weird having subwoofers just standing out, and why would people want to look at them? I guess I just didn't quite understand it. But it turns out it's something that quite a people have chimed in and really like. Like, wow, I can touch this, I can see how it looks. It's so much bigger or so much smaller than I thought it was, which is funny. But people be able to touch them, feel them, see them, actually it just helps sell them. So at first I was a little leery about the particular display, but I love it, and I love the look. It just looks really, really nice. You know. Beyond that, we went with 4 center of the room shelving units, which we haven't quite figured out to put everything on yet. We're working our way towards it. So, in that, I think we're all good. And thanks for walking with me. And Jody, thanks again for putting this together. It's absolutely beautiful. Thank you. Good night.
3,000 square feet is nothing to sneeze at, Mr. Don. That is a huge showroom. That's probably one of the biggest showrooms I've seen in this industry. But the use of it is, I think, what we want to talk about. Let's go to Jody. I want Jody to speak a little bit here. You know, Don called you up. You didn't know what you were taking on at first until you probed the customer a little bit more, get to understand his business a little bit more. Take it from that point on and connect it to what we just saw, Jody.
Yes, you know what? Don contacted me and said what he was doing. And again, when he kind of gave me the gist of what he did, I usually step back and go, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot to take on. And we did a couple FaceTime calls, I believe, and he showed me exactly what we had to work with. And I was pretty speechless, to say the least. You know, most guys are not going into that type of a space. And given the fact of what he does, he's very big in tint. He's very big in vehicle wrap. He introduced me to some things I hadn't even heard of yet. So that's what I was really excited about. And he gave me a very good idea in his mind what he wanted. You know, he's been like, he kind of speaks what everybody else has dreamed of. You know, be in a small shop, work your way up, bust your butt for many years, you know, pay your dues. And now I think when he opens his door every day, he probably has to pinch himself to realize that's his. You know, he really does. And I'm very, you know, I'm a little disappointed, Don, about one thing. You just told me an amazing story that I didn't know until I had to sit in this conference to realize where you've been. And that disappoints me because I usually try to ask that when I meet customers, how did you get started? And I'm pretty proud of Don going from where he was to where he is today. Like, you know, when I saw the video, I haven't seen the finished store. I hadn't seen it yet. And I even had to pinch myself to go, wow, we were a part of that process, which very much excited me. So he walked me through everything he did. He told me, I do this much business in tint. I want to increase my cars, so this is where we're going to go. And he allowed me a lot of flexibility. I have to admit, that's one of the really cool things about my job. When we get to understand a customer and they kind of say, Jody, just do your thing, I have a lot of fun with that. And I realized that this was a dream of Don's. I got that from the get-go. This is something that he's worked. This is his Eiffel Tower. This is what he really wants to showcase. So we really focused on automotive, understanding what we could do there, how to increase and make it even better, his window tint and paint protection. Make him the professional. I believe when you open those doors in Michigan and you set 2 feet in, you look around, I guarantee you every single customer is speechless because it's nothing they have ever seen before. There's displays in there that consumers have never even thought of ever seeing. Okay, it's the new modern Apple Store when you take to what he's done. As for audio, we zoned in on what he wanted to do for audio, what brands he wanted to do. We tuned every enclosure. He has the Mac Daddy enclosure for audio. That is the best display we build, the best sounding display we build. Again, we came up with the fact of no screws on the face. We kept a clean face. A little bit of a challenge to get the connectors in there, but it has a very beautiful look when it's all completed. You know, that was the first time I got to see it when it was all completed in the video as well. We honed in on the subwoofer display. He wanted to showcase his subwoofers. He wanted islands in the middle of his floor to showcase product, but not make it look like it's 80s, make it look like it's modern day with slat wall on the side. So we really honed in on that. We wanted to make sure that people knew his brand. We wanted to make sure that when customers walked in, they looked up at the ceiling. When you see in the video, as you saw it, you'll see that everything flows from the left all the way to the right. So all the categories that we're talking about are right below in the graphics. And that I'm very excited about. Like, you know, when you look for power sports, you look in the corner, you see power sports, there's the power sports display. You're looking for vehicle wrap, you immediately see vehicle wrap. It's the best showroom we've done in quite some time in the last year, in a way that it is very much a grocery store. If you walk in and you're looking for something specific, you look at all the headers, you will find what you're looking for in that store very easily.
Before I let Don comment, because I have questions for Don based on your comments. I mean, this is again a situation. I'm your perfect customer, Don. If I walked into your store, I already know my bank account's leaving that store with less.
That's my
because
plan.
You've given me no excuse. Like, I have no wiggle room. If I don't want that, I'm going to go for that. It's just everywhere I look, I'm spending money. So, okay, now that I need to get that out of my system. Don, talk to us a little bit about the day you opened and you started getting customer feedback and seeing these displays work for you, for your business. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, when I first opened up the store, as you can tell from the video, you get a big wow factor. All I heard from anywhere from family to friends to customers that have been coming in since the very beginning. Wow is what I get almost every time. Wow. I can't believe how beautiful this store is, how big, how open, but yet like you said, everything is there. It's like a grocery store. Everything's close enough to be relatively close to you, but far enough to where you're not. When I had my grand opening, I had 200 people inside that 3,000 square
How many
foot
people
room.
could say that? 200 people in their
They
showroom.
were not on top of each other.
Wow, that's
You know
great.
what I mean? People had room to move. There was a little bit of on top of each other, but there was room to move. And people, every time I see somebody touching a button, moving the buttons around here and this, there and this, I'm like, oh, there's a dollar sign. There's dollars.
Cha-ching.
dollars.
And
Right.
people do press those buttons, right?
That's exactly what they're there for. Yeah. They're like, oh, can I press that? I'm like, press it as many times as you want.
That's why they're there. That's why they're there. Now, as far as the, from the beginning of when you saw that open space, when you got the keys, to you going in tomorrow morning to work, how can you explain this whole experience, especially in dealing with 5-axis?
It's funny. I've kind of had this vision in my head for the past few years. I knew where I was going once I started hiring people, and over the past couple of years, I saw where my business was going, and I've kind of had this vision in my head. I didn't know to what extent the showroom was going to be until I got with Jody, and when I gave him the freedom to, I'm like, listen, because I'm getting into all kinds of things that I've never done before, so I don't really know that much about. So I'm going to have to rely on your experience in dealing with it, like the sound dampening, the motorsports, the power sports, the marine, all that stuff. That's all new for me. So I didn't really know what to do with that stuff. So I had to rely on him and counted on him, and used his insight. And between that and Google and all kinds of research and months of going back and forth between messages and man, we FaceTimed, we text, we were on Messenger, we were emails between me and 2 or 3 people on his team.
This is a hands-on, all immersive. Like
it was honestly, it was a little bit It was a little bit more than I thought it was going to be. I thought when I said, here, run with it. Here's some links. Here's the information I want to put on. Blah blah blah. I thought it'd be a little bit more go, but and then I thought about it. Like, doesn't really make sense. That sounds kind of generic at that point. In order to get specific to what I'm looking for, you have to be with me, and I have to be with you through the entire process for every single display. I mean, we went through every single word that's on every single display, every single picture. Made sure that my logo is on every display for branding.
And then the functionality. Absolutely.
There was a few things I had, like the tint display, like I said in the video. Jody had never made a tint display like that before. They're every bit of 25-30% smaller, because in our industry, the audio industry part of it, tint is just a secondary thing, like sound dampening or whatever else you got going on. But for me, that's our primary focus, and everything else was just secondary. So now I'm now looking to elevate all that secondary stuff and get it to levels where my tint are.
Don, before I let you go, the last thing I want to extract from you, other dealers tuning in, they're like, man, that's like what Don's got is what I want. What advice would you have for them if they wanted to take the plunge, pull the trigger, and call 5-axis?
Man, I say do it. I've had people ask me, what about the recession? This and that, we're coming into recession and sales. I'm like, listen, I don't know about the recession, but I know sales have slowed down, but I'm still 22% over last year. The year before that, we doubled the sales. The year before that, we doubled the sales. I say do it. What do you got? I mean, people say, what do you got to lose? But some will say a lot. I say all you have to lose is your fear.
Wow, that's awesome. I've never heard of that. That's really good. You're right. You're right.
All right. Now, in your case, you didn't do anything just to be clear, that was not phases. That was all one encompassing project.
All one shot.
One shot. Okay.
One big expensive shot.
Now I get, Jody, why you showed 2. I mean, there are two contrasting scenarios here. Yeah, that was a big undertaking in one shot.
When his team showed up, they had it done in 3 or 4 days.
Oh yeah, I didn't ask you that. So this was Team 5-axis that installed everything for you. You did not install those.
They installed all the displays. We of course did all the equipment loading. But man, I wish I'd have paid a little bit extra to have them load the equipment.
That's what Jody keeps saying.
What a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
And Don kind of taught me a valuable lesson out of all of that. And this is something that I have to do a better job. And I always warn guys on it and tell them, because there's a lot of work involved. I know that, but I don't give them an option. And you know what? Next time I need to do better at that. That's one thing, is that the next time we do a store such as Don's, I'm going to give an option that if our team stays for an extra day and a half or 2 days to help you load product, we can do that. Okay. Because I know our guys are used to load. They can probably do it 40-50% faster just because we're so used to it every day than the guys who are not used to it. And that's a critical element. I knew there was a lot of involvement there. But again, I always think, God, do they really want us here to help them with that? Do they want to pay? But you know what? I have to show them that, hey, we can do it. We can help. Absolutely, 100%.
So
And
I comment on that. I would have been happy to pay instead of having to pull my technicians out of my store to quit working to come install speakers. So personally, I'd have been happy to pay.
It was something that we will not go down that path again. He taught me a very valuable lesson. So we've already rectified that going into our next stores, that we are going to start offering that to every dealer that we come to. You know, here's the option for the install, and here's the option for the product.
Very, very cool.
again,
Don, again, thank you for coming in.
Displays, Ben, just one other thing I just want to touch on with Don. Some of the other displays, like his lighting display, he sent the product to us and we install it. OEM, we installed it. So we did try to do some of the stuff that I know is really hard and really a pain in the butt to put in. I try to do that stuff before it comes to the dealer. Okay. But we're going to take it another element up. We're going to add another notch to it for retailers. If they chose to do that, then by all means, we'll help them do it.
Very good. Very good. Don, I'm so impressed with your store. I'm very happy for you. Congratulations on achieving that and getting to that point. It looks beautiful. And thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thanks, Ben. I appreciate it.
All right.
And I thank you, Jody.
Very best. Take care, Don.
I appreciate it.
Amazing.
Thank you.
All right. Jody, let's bring you back in. One or two questions for you, and then we can close it out. I think, Jody, when it comes to planning for a showroom, break it down for us. What are the quick, easy steps when it comes to planning a new showroom, budget-wise and everything, with you guys?
Usually if guys call us or they email us, the first thing we ask from them is pictures. They send us pictures. We'll then have a call with them and review what they're looking for and design and what features they want to cover. We'll then go over some options for them, understand that. We'll then put it all together on a timeline for them, give them some budgets. And once they give us the approval, it's anywhere between 60 days to 120 days, depending on where we're at and what they're at. Don was about 4 months behind his reno because he was getting put off where he was. He couldn't get permits done. It really threw a kink into everything for us because we had to put everything on hold. So it was very interesting. And that happens. That happens with any reno. When you do it, we're ready. We've got to figure out. I had to rent extra storage space to put his displays because I didn't have room in my shop for everything. And it's not his fault. It's just what happened. So we had to figure out ways to make it work, and we did. We did make it work. So we do try to make it. But one of the things I do want to touch on when Don did do his store, I very much wanted to understand his business. I never want to tell a retailer how to run their business because they're the ones who have done it. I want to cater to their needs. I want to figure out ways to make them more money. And ultimately, we want to create the store of their dreams. That is the goal. We want to give them what they truly, truly want. And, I've learned a lot with Don's. We did a lot of cool things in his store, from even the coffee center. He had this much room. I made him a one-off coffee table section. And just to cater to that idea, because I didn't want to have something 2 inches too big, 2 inches too small, we made it exactly to fit that wall. So these are the things that we really try to listen to our retailers on, is increasing their business, giving them the peace of mind when that customer opens that door, they get the wow factor.
There you go.
And that's what we really want to do.
Obviously, we have to pay for that wow factor. So what kind of options do we have from small businesses to big businesses as far as payment options?
There's a few different options that guys can do. We obviously require a 50% deposit when we do it. So some guys will do leasing, some guys will do financing, some guys will do different payments. I have some guys call me up, say, listen, Jody, I can give you X amount now, X amount when it ships, and then we do a couple payments maybe after the product gets there. We work with various clients on various options because, again, we all have budgets. And I really pride ourselves on the fact that we really try to understand the shipping. We try to understand everything. So when a customer gets their final invoice, it's what was originally quoted. We ran into, for example, Don's store, we ran into 2 price increases throughout the build of his store. Like 2 price increases on wood, which were like 20.
Yeah, and I was just gonna ask. Wood has been all over the place these last 2 years.
Oh, it was horrible. But I never once went back to Don and say, "Oh, you remember that audio board? It's another 15% more because I couldn't do that. That's not fair. We had to eat the cost. We had to do that, and that happens. That's what part of doing business is. So there is, like I said, there is leasing financing. It's 1 page. You fill it out. You get your terms. And the other thing is that we do not get involved in is anytime someone fills out a leasing or a finance application, we do not get involved with their financials. Okay. I will put them over to the leasing finance guy. They will talk numbers. I do not want to know any owner's business. I don't want to know any part of that. That's for them and the financing company to know. Once they've established what they're good for, if it's 10, 15, 20, 100, whatever that number is, and they figured it out, they then get back to us and we finalize the documentation on what that cost will be. Okay. So again, I try to respect them. This is their business. I try to guide them down the path. I try to give them as much expertise as I can and tell them what everybody else is getting us to do. This is hot. This is not. This is where guys are doing to help them really solidify their business. But ultimately, at the end of the day, Ben, when Don's store is done and it's amazing, when Mike's store is done, it looks amazing. I want to provide them solutions that when they need to update their store, they need to change something. It's a simple phone call to us saying, listen, Jody, we now don't do WeatherTech. We now do something else. We need 6 new panels printed. We print them. We send it to them. It's done. It's off their plate. We look after them because I want to keep our stores relevant. That is the key in our changing world, is keeping them relevant. So I really try hard to do that.
Guys, if you hung out with us this long, obviously there's something in here that you're interested in. I'm going to give you the information. If you want more information on all these services and products that 5-Axis Innovations can custom build, cater to your needs and your budget, there's the website, 5AxisInnovations.com. It has a great team standing by to literally sit down, consult you, and figure it out how they can make, the store of your dreams come true. That's really what it's all about. Jody, that's it. Great. Thank you for bringing those 2 guests. I mean, both amazing, successful, businessmen and installers that have built the business that they want, and through you, have open the key every morning with a smile.
Well, I'm just blessed that we were a part of it, and thanks again for including us in the program. I very much appreciate it, Ben.
Oh, of course, we're partners, sir. We'll talk to you on the next one, Jody. Thanks for coming.
All right, brother. Take care.
Take care. All right, that was Jody Culbertson from 5-Axis Innovations. Now, I want to remind you that as you're watching this, we are about to embark on our brand new sessions, and it's all going to be about remote starters and telematics. It's that time of the year, people. Tune in until September 16th as we cover one brand each and every day, all in the remote starter and telematic business. Now, if you haven't heard already, shame on you, because here's your chance, whether you're in the US or Canada, to enter and win biggest contest in the industry right now. CMA Networks and MasterTech Expo present the ultimate fab experience, brought to you by, yes, you guessed it, 5-Axis Innovations and SiriusXM. 2 winners, one from the US and one from Canada, will win an all-inclusive trip to MasterTech Expo in Arizona in 2023. Flights, meals, everything included. Incredible. All you got to do is get to cmanetworks.com/giveaway and fill out the form, and we'll be drawing the winner right here on CMA on November 23rd. Last but not least, while you're there filling out the form, check out our website, cmanetworks.com, where this and every other brand can be featured and found through our advanced search tools on cmanetworks.com. That's it for this CMA 12-Volt Insider presented by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.
Stop it.
Yo, roll it down.
I am.
You don't need a car to listen to SiriusXM. You can listen anywhere. You know that, right?
What? Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio.
Kevin, you could use your phone.
What? What?
Alexa, play Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio on SiriusXM.
What?
This is how I know you're getting old. I guess that was it.
What?